Nice to finally face to face.
How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. How are you, sir? Good. How are you? Good. How are you? How's it going? Good to see you too.
Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, I wonder if there's crickets. Sheesh. My name is Kevin Batdorf. I'm the president of the Shore Acre Civic Association, and I am calling this meeting to order. But we all know him here as our community policing officer, Officer Jim.
Thank you, Kevin. I see some familiar faces and I see some new faces here. Kevin asked me to kind of briefly touch upon some personal safety as well as preventing vehicle burglaries. A lot of it's common sense, but I printed off some brochures that I'm going to be reading off of. I left some copies over there. We're trying to be environmentally friendly, so all this information is available on the city's website. But the first one involves personal safety, like I stated. Be aware, plan ahead, and trust your instincts. That's common sense stuff. From crossing a street to protecting your belongings, there's a lot to think about when your own safety is concerned. No one can stop crime or accidents from occurring, but you do have control over your actions. This is where prevention comes into play. So obviously the first one is to be aware, avoid being on autopilot, remain alert, and walk with a purpose. Even if you're on a routine route that you take every day, be aware of your surroundings. Plan ahead, always have like an escape plan or a way to get out of a situation. Trust your instincts. Trusting your instincts is a situation that could seem wrong, can be the best personal safety tool that you have. Pay attention and don't be afraid to act on it. What should you do if you're confronted? Obviously, your safety is the number one thing. Property can get replaced, lives cannot. So be mindful of something like that. Obviously, we encourage someone if they're in a situation to contact the police. If it's an emergency, you call 911. If it's something late reported, you can call the non-emergency phone number. The phone number is provided on the brochures and on the city's website as well. It also mentions about preventing theft, especially around the holidays. You see a lot of what we call porch pirates, where people get deliveries and somebody's out of town or at work. So just be mindful if you if you have a camera, make sure that it's turned on and actually recording. If you can have someone pick up the package or get it dropped at one of the collection points, that would always be helpful. So minimize what can be lost, carry only what you need when you're out and about, carry small amounts of cash and only cards that you plan to use. Purses and bags, keep them closed against your body or held loosely, in your arms. We'll once in a while, like detectives will send out video and it'll be like a theft and you'll see someone with their purse and their shopping cart and they're halfway across the aisle. It only takes that brief moment for someone to go grab those credit cards out of the purse or wallet. So same thing with backpacks, make sure that they're secured, zipped up, locked up, whatever. Safety in your vehicle, make sure that you park in well-lit areas. Always have your keys in hand when you're leaving the building. Be alert and aware of your surroundings when you approach the vehicle. If someone's loitering near your car, do not approach, go back inside or wait for someone to accompany you to the vehicle. Enter your car quickly and lock the door. Keep the doors locked when you're driving. Most of them obviously have automatic, once you go over certain miles an hour or engage it drive or a gear, it'll lock itself. If you're being followed, drive to a public place. Be mindful of possibly keeping your car empty of possessions. So that happens all throughout the city, which I'll be talking about that briefly. I don't really need to read off the brochure for the next one regarding the vehicle burglaries, but around the holidays, obviously, you get a lot of people out and about, so they'll have packages sitting in the back seat. Make sure if you can throw them in the trunk or, throw something over it to hide them, that obviously helps. So regarding the vehicle burglaries and suspicious activity, obviously you want to be looking for something that looks out of the ordinary, Don't feel like you're inconveniencing officers or that it's a waste of time if you see something suspicious. There's lots of things that could be suspicious that could be turned out to be something, it might turn out to be nothing. So if you see some unfamiliar faces in the neighborhood at an unfamiliar time, you can always call us, we'll come out to investigate it. If you see them wearing a hoodie and it's 95 degrees outside, or they got gloves on, that's usually a sign. So Obviously, locking your cars is a big thing. We do have something called the Eagle Eye program. I've mentioned it a couple different times. It's free to register with the city. That's if you have cameras at your house. So you go on, you register with Eagle Eye, and it helps if there's a pattern of crimes or whatever in a particular neighborhood. It speeds up the process. Detectives can actually go on there and look, because you'll see us out and about. We'll be knocking on doors if there's a vehicle burglary pattern or whatever. We'll do that all hours, but it actually helps speed up the process. So the vehicle burglary thing is obviously a big thing. A lot of times people will have a second set of keys to a different vehicle, and then you end up getting the auto theft too. So same thing with firearms. Please make sure if you have a firearm, take it inside. It happens more frequently than we like that too. So I know there's been discussion in the past about, well, how come we don't charge the person or give them a fine if the firearm's stolen? Well, then are they going to report that it's stolen if they know that they're going to get in trouble for it? So we kind of have to pick our battles on that. So my unit, community service unit, we're multitasked. We not only come out and speak to all of you and deal with a lot of different neighborhood community things. Around the holidays, we help assemble bikes, we help gather turkeys and hand out food. We do the Feeding Tampa Bay, the Lunch Pals. We do similar activities like that. We do mentoring programs. Now that the kids are soon going to be out of school, we're actually going to be going out and we're starting some auto theft, vehicle burglary operations. So a lot of the kids here, you know, it's kind of like a vicious cycle. You'll catch them and then someone else will come along or whatever. But starting the end of this month, actually, we're going to be all summer long working on nights and weekends, specifically targeting patterns of vehicle burglaries and auto thefts. So just be mindful. You know, most of it's common sense, but it doesn't hurt to you know, repeat ourselves a lot just to kind of get the point across. So before I hand the microphone over to Mike, basically I'm going to briefly touch on low-speed vehicles and then golf carts, and then I'm going to hand it over so he can talk a little bit more about it. But basically, you'll see the kids out and about, or adults out and about. You'll see them on the little four-door vehicles, right? So some of them are golf carts, some of them look like golf carts, some of them are actually low-speed vehicles. So a low-speed vehicle and golf cart are two different and distinct classifications. While a low-speed vehicle can be used as a golf cart, it is technically not a golf cart. A low-speed vehicle is an electric vehicle that has a top speed of greater than 20 miles an hour but less than 25 miles an hour, varying state by state. A golf cart, by contrast, is to have a top speed under 20 miles an hour. So you'll see the golf carts around here and there, not only in this neighborhood but other parts of the city. They have to be street legal, so they have to be registered, just like the low-speed vehicles. So there's certain things that you have to do that Mike will be able to talk about as far as insurance and registration. It has to be the person operating the vehicle has to have a valid driver's license, and it has to have certain things on it. Turn signals, seat belts, headlights, windshield wipers, mirrors, things like that. So I'm going to turn it over, and then you can give a little bit more information about that. Okay? Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Boyle. I'm an attorney in town. My office, you probably all have to drive by to get out of the neighborhood. We're right there on 40th and 1st. You probably see our orange RV on your way to Publix all the time. But so let's talk a little bit about golf carts, right? So the first question you need to know, as the officer touched on and talked about, was what do I have? Do I have a low-speed vehicle or do I have a golf cart? And the answer, the first place you're going to need to look is, what does the certificate of origin say for that vehicle? So what's a certificate of origin? It's the birth certificate. So when a vehicle is born, all vehicles have one, whether it's a dirt bike or a car, they all have a certificate of origin that the manufacturer designates that vehicle as a thing. And when it's born, it is a golf cart or it is born as a low-speed vehicle. And you're never going to make a dirt bike into an automobile, and you're never going to make a golf cart into a low-speed vehicle. You can put all the things on it you want, it doesn't change it. Unless the Florida legislature has created a way that you can have a golf cart reborn as a low-speed vehicle. It will get a new certificate of origin, a new title, and they'll stamp a new VIN onto your golf cart, and now it's a low-speed vehicle. But until you go through that process, it is not a low-speed vehicle, and you are not complying with the law if you don't go through the process of getting it designated as a low-speed vehicle. So if you see a golf cart on the road and it doesn't have a license plate on the back, it is not a low-speed vehicle. You're not driving a low-speed vehicle. So what is a golf cart? A golf cart is a vehicle which is issued a certificate of origin designating it as a golf cart. It is designed and intended for off-road use. Florida Statute 320.0122 defines it as a motor vehicle that is designed and manufactured for operation on a golf course for sporting or recreational purposes, and that is not capable of exceeding 20 miles an hour. Okay? What's a low-speed vehicle? A low-speed vehicle has a special designation under the law. It will either be purchased or born as a low-speed vehicle, and those do exist. You see the gem cars out there and some of the other ones that are just born as low-speed vehicles. Or it will be converted to a low-speed vehicle by complying with the Florida statute that allows you to retitle and revin it as a low-speed vehicle. That's Florida Statute 320.0141 defines low-speed vehicle as any four-wheeled vehicle whose top speed is greater than 20 miles per hour, but not greater than 25 miles per hour. A low-speed vehicle must be registered, titled, and insured just like a car. So all the same insurance compliance is required. You still have to have a driver's license and so forth. So again, you have to have a driver's license. They can only be operated on roads where the posted speed limit is 35 miles an hour or less. So that means 40th Avenue is not a low-speed vehicle road west of the bridge. There's plenty of off-path roads, off 40th roads you can take to go west if you want. The safety equipment that you need to have on a low-speed vehicle: headlamps, front and rear turn signals, stop lamps, tail lights, reflectors, one on each side and one on the rear, an exterior mirror on the driver's and the interior rearview mirror or an exterior mirror on the passenger side, a parking brake, a windshield, a seat belt for each designated seat, and a vehicle identification number or a VIN. So you can put all those things on your golf cart. You still don't have a low-speed vehicle until you go through and get it registered and a VIN identified to it as a low-speed vehicle. Where can I drive my low-speed vehicle? You can drive it on any street with a posted speed limit of 35 miles an hour or less, and you can cross roads that are above 35 miles an hour as long as you stay on a road that's 35 miles an hour. So popular question, what is a golf cart community? A golf cart community per Florida Statute 316.212 and 316.2125 is when a county commission or city council designates a road, quote, for use by golf carts, and must post signs on that road showing this designation. First, they must conduct a traffic safety study to determine whether or not it's safe. And also, self-contained retirement communities are also golf cart communities, like the Villages or Sun City Center. So the next question is Shore Acres, are we a golf cart community? And the answer is no, we're not. There's no golf cart roads in Shore Acres that are designated as golf cart roads. Driver's license requirements. In order to operate any motorized vehicle on a road in Florida, you need a driver's license. The only exceptions for that are an electric bicycle or a golf cart if you are in a golf cart community, which we're not. Penalties for driving without a driver's license. If you're driving anything, whether it's a golf cart or a low-speed vehicle, and you don't have a driver's license, you're in violation of Florida Statute 322.031, which is a criminal offense, second-degree misdemeanor, punishable by 60 days in the county jail or 6 months of probation. Penalties for driving a golf cart, a non-low-speed vehicle on a public roadway. So the other crime, if you're driving a golf cart that doesn't have a tag on the back of it, that is Florida Statute 320.02 sub 1, criminal offense, second-degree misdemeanor, punishable by 60 days in the county jail or 6 months of probation. So if you're under 16 and you're operating a golf cart that's not a low-speed vehicle, you're committing 2 second-degree misdemeanors at the same time. Driving is considered a per se adult activity, so there's no such thing as a juvenile court if your 14-year-old gets pulled over and get issued 2 tickets for driving without a valid driver's license and driving a golf cart without a low-speed vehicle designation. Then it gets even more fun because a lot of them are going to say, but my parents told me I could do this. I'm not doing anything wrong. My mommy gave me the keys. Well, now you've just subjected yourself to a potential DCF child endangerment problem. That officer really wants to take it to the next level. So that's really not the best thing to say. And I'll tell you guys, I mean, letting the kids take these things out, especially if they're not low-speed vehicles, you're causing yourselves a lot of potential problems. Okay, so how do you convert your golf cart to a low-speed vehicle? You can purchase all the necessary equipment to upgrade it. You can buy it all on Amazon for the most part, and you have to get a larger battery and speed controller to make it go a little faster. But then you need to get there's a form that you need to get from the DMV, which is what allows it to be reborn from a golf cart to a low-speed vehicle. And then you have to take it to one of these regional centers, and they go through the process of stamping a VIN on it and getting you to the next level. There's an easier way, in my opinion. It costs more money, but there's services that will just come pick up your golf cart from your driveway, they take it away, and when they bring it back, it's a low-speed vehicle, and you're completely compliant. It's not cheap, but it's easy. Now, the next one I want to talk about, and I get this question every so often, so what about side-by-side ATVs? Every so often we'll see these Razors or Generals or whatever they are driving around in the neighborhood. Are those legal? There is absolutely no way in Florida to make one of those things street legal. Zero. So they are issued a certificate of origin as an off-road vehicle, an ATV, and there is no way to convert an off-road ATV into a street legal vehicle in the state of Florida. Zero. So there's one exception to that, I'll say. There are some Chinese-made knockoff versions of these side-by-sides that actually, these Chinese companies will actually give them to you with a certificate of origin as a low-speed vehicle. Most likely because those companies won't be in business in 6 months, so they don't have any risk of being sued like Polaris or Honda would. So there are some Chinese manufactured ones that have low-speed vehicle designations. But absent that, there's no such thing as a side-by-side ATV that's street legal. Now, I'm also aware that there are services that are out there that claim that they can convert your side-by-side ATV to street legal. Those services advertise on social media, and they've all kind of got the same play there. I'm also aware that some of them have been prosecuted for organized fraud, because what they do, most of them, and there's a couple different ways to do this. One of them is you have a cousin that works at the DMV, and they just push these titles through. But the way that most of them do it is they do a straw man purchase in a state that allows ATVs to be titled and registered as low-speed vehicles, like Wyoming and Tennessee. They allow you to get license plates as low-speed vehicles for these vehicles, and then they sell them back into Florida as low-speed vehicles. The problem with that is it's title fraud. So I actually had somebody call me once who got pulled over driving his side-by-side ATV that he had gone through this process, and they arrested him for being complicit in an organized title fraud operation. So most people probably get away with it, but it's not legal, and there are definitely fallout. There's potential for fallout going down that road. So anytime you see one of those on the road, even if you see a Florida license plate on it, it's not legal. The next thing I want to talk about is insurance considerations for golf carts and low-speed vehicles. So I could probably talk for an hour and do an entire thing on insurance. I'm a personal injury attorney, so I deal with insurance and car accidents every day. But the thing that's really important, I think, about golf carts and safety is you're more likely, if you get into an accident with a golf cart, to get hurt. You're more likely for the people in your golf cart to also get hurt if you get into a car accident. So insurance limits, how much insurance you buy, should at least be as much as you have on your other cars. If you have a golf cart that isn't street legal, think about that. If somebody gets hurt in your golf cart, they're going to sue you. If somebody and I'll probably represent them. If somebody gets hurt, somebody hurts you when you're in your golf cart and they don't have insurance, which is a lot of people in the state of Florida. You're not required to carry bodily injury coverage in Florida. So most people, I don't know, a lot of people don't have it. So having like uninsured motorist coverage, which is super important to have for your own family vehicles, is just as important, if not more important, in your golf carts. So when you're out there driving around, if somebody hits you and hurts you, you want to have insurance to pay for your injuries when you get hit. Also, let me touch on DUIs. So a lot of my friends, a lot of my neighbors will say, I like to get in my golf cart because I can drink and drive that. And I can't get in my car when I'm drinking. Well, unfortunately, that's absolutely not true. And you see, we've all seen it. People driving around with an open beer in their hand or a cocktail in their hand, driving their golf cart over their buddy's house. It's absolutely not legal, and the same DUI laws and open container laws that apply to your car apply to your golf carts. And you know, if everybody would just take the position that if I can't do it in my car, I can't do it in my golf cart or my low-speed vehicle, I think that would kind of start to set in, and maybe there'd be less golf carts, I don't know. But I've absolutely represented people in this neighborhood for DUIs on a golf cart in the last year. So they're out there, it happens. And if you get pulled over on your golf cart because you got a beer and you just don't like the fact that they're hassling you and you refuse the breath test, regardless of what I can do for your DUI charge, you just committed it, you just subjected yourself to a 1-year administrative driver's license revocation for refusing that breath test. And absent winning that administrative review hearing, which is a whole other conversation, you're going to lose your license for a year. And that's not going to be fun. You're not going to think that was worth having an open container in your golf cart. And the other side of that is if you do blow into the machine and you blow over a .08, you're going to lose your license administratively for 6 months for that. So there's no good solution to drinking and driving in a golf cart. If you get stopped, you're going to have a problem. And again, I know of one pretty serious passenger being ejected from a golf cart in Shore Acres in the last year, brain injury. I also know of 2 people I've represented in the last year for violating these misdemeanors on their golf carts in the neighborhood. So it's not super prevalent. I don't know that it's going to start happening every day, but it's something we all need to be aware of, and we need to let our friends know this too, because what's gonna, I think, this is the editorial part, we're gonna have kids get hurt. And that's when everybody's gonna start to really see the police crack down on it. But just know what is and isn't in bounds. I think that's a good start. So, thank you, everybody.
Oh, by the way, LeavenLaw sponsors the Christmas golf cart parade every year.
You brought koozies for your Diet Coke cans.
That's right. Wow. Okay. I just want to mention one thing about Officer Jim. He sends me a report, a crime report. Is it every week?
Yeah, I check the stats every week.
So every week, and I'm still waiting for something to happen. Nothing.
No,
We have a very, very quiet neighborhood crime-wise, so kudos to you guys. All right, our last speaker this evening before me again is Ian Leavengood with LeavenLaw. He's going to talk about pool safety.
Kevin? All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for a couple minutes here. So, again, not kidding, we do have golf cart koozies here for you, so please pick them up for the annual Christmas parade. I'm talking about pool safety, okay? So I have born and raised in St. Pete. When I came back from New York City, first home with my newlywed, we lived out in Venetian Isles. Actually, Kevin represented, I think, the seller on that home. It was a short sale, so thank you. But we lived there as newlyweds. My wife and I are attorneys, relatively educated people, think we know what we're doing. We had twins, okay? I had a twin boy and a twin girl. And you know, as new parents, you're doing everything baby. It's baby wise, baby Mozart, you know, everything you can do to make sure that you're loving and caring for your children. You know, we're busy professionals and parents. We had professional nannies that would help us out. And when my children were about 16 months, you know, we did, like I think a lot of parents do, we would have swim lessons in our backyard pool. Okay, you know, it's mom and dad are in the pool, you got your kids there. I think it was a swim instructor from the Y that came over, and a lot of that swim lesson, which again, you think is very well intentioned in what you're supposed to be doing, you're getting your children used to the pool, right? I mean, they're getting used to putting their face in the water, they're getting used to going underwater, blowing bubbles, etc. Which is all very well and good. And again, we thought we were doing everything correctly. Unfortunately, back in November of 2008, when I was at work, I got a call from our nanny, and she had lost my son, Luke. She didn't know where he was, and he had unfortunately gotten out of the front door of the house. She was caring for my twin sister Vivian, and long story short, by the time I got home, the St. Pete paramedics were out front of our house, and they had found my son in the neighbor's pool. So, fortunately or unfortunately, when I speak about this topic, I speak about the topic because I have, unfortunately, a little bit of experience with it. But now, 10 years later, my wife and I and my daughter Vivian are trying to use the unfortunate experience that we have to try and bring education to people in the community so they can understand the things that you can do as young parents, or I see a lot of faces here, maybe not the child-bearing mind right now, but you may have grandparents, okay? You may have kids in your neighborhood that live there and you see playing in the streets. And so this is information that I think is imperative to everyone who lives in the state of Florida. Any Bucks fans here? Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if you all just read, but May 1st of this year, Shaq Barrett, our all-pro linebacker, he just lost his 2-year-old daughter to a drowning accident. So this is the leading cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 4 in the entire state of Florida. And in 2021, that number increased by 31%. So we don't know if that was COVID, a lot of people were at home, but this is a pandemic, if you will, especially for Floridians, just because we live on a peninsula, here we live on a peninsula, off of a peninsula, and there's pools everywhere. So this is important information. There's 3 layers of protection, as we like to talk about. First and foremost is supervision, second is barriers, and then third is swim instruction, okay? Sounds kind of obvious, but I wanted to break those down a little bit. So supervision, again, drowning not only just being the leading cause of death for children between the age of 1 and 4, the Florida legislature has also called it out. There is a statute that governs this, it's Florida Statute 515, and it calls out in its preamble that constant adult supervision is the key to accomplishing the objective of reducing the number of submersion incidents, and when that lapses, deaths will occur. So again, supervision, it sounds so common sense, so obvious, but I can't tell you how many times, especially now having been on the other side of a drowning accident, when I may be at a party with friends or you see children walking around the neighborhood, and I just immediately, because I've been so sensitized to it, think, people aren't being as vigilant as you would like to think. They're not keeping an eye on their child at all times, especially if you're at a party. One of the leading causes of those drowning incidents is you're talking to a friend, you're going to get a snack, you're going to get a hot dog, you don't know where your 2-year-old is, and it takes just a split second for someone to fall into a pool, someone to not see it, and within minutes you can have brain damage or someone drown. So please be vigilant and watch after your kids, grandkids, neighbors' kids, anyone that may be at your house. Barriers. Okay, so the Florida statute also requires barriers. So what are barriers? Okay, the statute literally calls out 5 different things. A pool cover. You don't see those too much here in the state of Florida because we use pools so much and we don't have snow and ice, so people aren't really covering their pools, but that's one. Pool fence. It's very common. You see the pool fence that completely circles the pool. That's one of the barriers that the Florida statute approves. Alarms on any doors or windows from the home that leads to the pool area. That's one of the 5 barriers. Don't see that as much. Self-closing mechanisms on all doors that lead to the pool area. That's something that you will see more and more. And I would also add, very important, on the pool barriers, make sure that you've got the Magna latches is one of the barriers, but just please make sure that those are closing. And then alarm deterrents, I've seen those where, again, if you've got a pool and someone breaks the surface of the water, an alarm will go off. So now you could be inside, you may not have known, you know that someone's just broken the surface of the water. Okay, so those barriers are great, and the supervision is great, but if those 2 areas fail, the last line of defense is, of course, going to be swim instruction. I gave the example with our children because, again, we thought we were doing what was right. These are 16-month-olds. We've got them in the water. We're doing lessons. We're bringing the private instructor to the house, and we're doing it constantly. Little did we know, that's really not instructing them in that short time to actually swim, okay? And not survival swim lessons, which is what I'll talk about in a second. Ironically, it's making them more comfortable to the water, okay, that they're enjoying the water, they're drawn to the water. They look forward to the water because it's fun, okay, they're doing it with mom, dad, there's toys, blowing bubbles, things like that. So if you're going to do swim lessons, you've got to be vigilant and make sure that you're doing the correct type. Okay, so there is something called survival swim lessons, and survival swim lessons is something that can be started at the age of 6 months, and people will definitely recommend it up to the age of 12 months to start. Okay, now survival swim lessons, as you can imagine, for a 6-month-old, you're not learning strokes, you're not learning things that we would traditionally think, but you're literally learning to survive. If you fall in the water, you're learning to roll face up, you're learning to be able to float, and you're learning to be able to try and find a way to get either to the edge, to a shelf, or to steps. There's probably 4 different companies in the Tampa Bay area that offer these. And so Saved by Luke is a website. My wife and I, but I like to give lots of credit to my 12-year-old daughter, Vivian. She's been a lot of the inspiration behind this, the ideas, the colors, the logos, a lot of the fundraising that we've done so far. She has spent a lot of time doing. But on this website, you'll be able to find the 4 different survival swim courses or companies that will help people learn to swim. Videos, I'm not going to go through them all. There's videos on there. You can see my youngest 2. I've got an 8-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son that have come after Luke and Vivian, and they've both gone through survival swim lessons. And you can actually see, if you care to see what a survival swim lesson looks like, them going through a lesson. I will tell you, if you're new parents or grandparents and you haven't seen it before, the first time you see it, it kind of makes you cringe a little bit. Okay, I mean, you've got your granddaughter, your son, your daughter, they're in the water, and at some point there is a little bit of distress because they're obviously having to learn how to deal with the water in their face, they're having to learn how to actually roll and turn over, and then they're having to learn how to float for a substantial amount of time. And when they're first starting to do that, as a parent, your natural instinct is to try and obviously take away pain, take away discomfort, take away things that may seem to be affecting your child in a negative way. But again, in the long run, this is one of the greatest things that I think Floridians can do, is to make sure that their children have the ability to swim at early ages. To pass the test, the children are put in the pool, fully clothed, shoes on, everything, and they have to be able, fully clothed, which again gets very heavy, very wet, they have to roll over, turn, and they have to be able to float for 60 seconds before they will graduate. And so again, you can see all of that on the video should you choose to look at it. Last thing is the purpose of Saved by Luke. So first and foremost is education. So thank you for having me. This is part of its missions, is to try and educate people. Second thing is to try and provide funding for families and or children that may not have the resources to take these kinds of lessons. Luke's accident, the anniversary just came, it was 10 years ago, just this past November, and so again, my wife and daughter, we wanted to raise $10,000 to try and have tuition for people to kind of apply, and people on need-based to be able to get scholarships paid. We raised over $52,000 in a week, so it's pretty much remarkable. So if any of you or family, friends, neighbors, if anyone does need assistance with it, they're also not that cheap. Okay, to do it, it's a 4 to 6 week course, and it's typically can be somewhere between $50 to $80 a week. You tend to be going several times a day, so again, it is time consuming, it is intensive training, but I will tell you, it can be life-saving. So thank you for the time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But again, there's a lot of information on the website as well.